whole episode and the audio
That would have
wasn't
been
in.
bad. Yeah.
So, all right, we are back with another episode of the What's Your Hustle podcast. I'm here with Kyle Tusing. We are talking about a whole bunch of different stuff. I'll let you kind of jump into a quick little rundown of what you're currently doing, and then we can kind of jump into a couple topics we were talking about and want to throw together.
Yeah, of course. I want to say, first of all, thank you for having me on here. I appreciate any opportunity to kind of be able to spread value and just give out insights, hopefully, that help people. That's my biggest goal, is just giving out things that I've learned and things I've seen along the way, just to give people value.
Yeah.
So like you said, my name's Kyle. Best place to find me is at Ktusing34 on Instagram. I have everything posted on there, and
we'll make sure that you're loved and flash it up on the screen and put it in the description, the whole thing.
And that's where I'll post all my YouTube videos, everything. And I try to do as much as I can for free. And that's like the first thing you'll see in my bio is like I give away a ton of things for free. I want to do as much as I can to help people for free. So that's what I do. And my main thing that I'm focusing on is I wanted to build a personal brand, because I see that's where a lot of really successful people, that's what they're doing. You look at people like Alex Hormozi, Gary Vee, Russell Brunson. I mean, anybody you really name that's a big entrepreneur, they're going to have their own personal brand.
Yeah.
And so I was like, why would I think I would be any different? If I want to continue to grow, that's what I'm going to have to do eventually.
And that's the cool thing about a personal brand, is you can kind of get into whatever you want. You know what I mean? You're not tied down.
Yeah.
Who would want to start a videography company and only be tied to videography? No, I'm just kidding. But it's one of those where if you build that personal brand and you kind of build off of that, you can go down different avenues. You can start sub-brand, or you want to kind of stay, and we'll touch more because I know we talked about
and that's
branding.
That's what I've realized. Like, I've done all kinds of different ventures. I've done e-commerce, I've had TikTok shops, and I've seen success in a lot of those things. I've drop shipped, I've done all of those things, and they were all businesses that like I would have success in, but there was no relation to them back to me.
Yeah.
And so when I would kind of do one of those and see success, but then realize it's not what I wanted, there was no way for me to transition it. With building a personal brand, it gives you the ability to transition between things that naturally come and go in your life and the things that you're interested in, like job changes. People do career changes all the time. You're allowed to do those kind of things. Why can the same thing not hold true for entrepreneurship?
Yeah.
So that's what I realized. I built my personal brand around focusing on health, wealth, and relationships, because for me, those are like the three things I care about. I want to be healthy to enjoy my life. That's the best thing. I want to be wealthy so that I have money, that there's no limits to stopping me from doing the things that I want to do.
That's exactly.
And I want to have good relationships. I want to have a good relationship with my significant other, with my family, with my friends, my connections, my network, everything. Because when I have this health, that I now have the ability to go do these things, I have the money, nothing else stopping me from doing those things. I want to go do it with people that I want to enjoy that time with.
It's funny how all three of those kind of play in.
Exactly.
And a lot of people, I think they value different things more than others. And that's the great thing about being human, right? You can put your, you can kind of work towards one thing or the other, or you can kind of work in all three. I kind of feel that same way, is you want to be able to enjoy your life as long as you can. That's where the health comes in, like you're saying. But then also when you want to go do these things, or not do anything, but you want to feel comfortable, that's where the wealth comes in, whether it be the 9 to 5 or the entrepreneurship, whatever.
Everybody has their own picture of it, and it's not, and my picture of it's going to be completely different from somebody else's. There's other people that are going to have similar pictures than mine, and maybe for the wealth aspect of things, they relate to me and they want to go down that same path that I'm taking, and that's why I'm providing this value and giving these things out. Is for those kind of people.
Yeah.
For the people that want to be in shape like me, I might take it further than some people even want to take it. Like, I go to the gym 6, sometimes 7 days a week. Like, I'm working out nonstop because I enjoy it. It's my stress relief. It's, it's what I like to do.
Yeah.
Not everybody's going to want to take it that far. And so, that's why I'm just putting out what I'm doing and what I know, and people can take bits and pieces of it, and they can take what they, want to use. And that's really my thing. And so that's why those are the 3 things I want to cover, because I feel like those are the 3 keys you need to focus on, at least in my aspect, for living a happy life. That's the best way to find it.
Builds a really good foundation.
Exactly.
And speaking of foundation, I do know you do a little bit into real estate.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of how we originally got connected way, way back. And then we've just kind of been following each other and watching each other on social media from a distance. We have a couple things that we have in common that we're kind of like in the mix with.
Back, stuff like
so,
that.
but I was like, all right, let's sit down and kind of get to know each other a little bit more, right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So you start or you're in real estate now?
Yeah. So I am still in real estate. I do, in fact, still sell houses. I'm buying houses myself. Me and my girlfriend still invest in real estate. So definitely very much still in real estate, but I, of course, went into real estate. It was my first full-on entrepreneurial journey. I quit my normal job, my 9-to-5 job. I went full into real estate, and it was mainly because when I first started, I got a taste of it, that freedom. Everybody knows what it is. You know, you get that freedom, that different quality of life.
Make
honestly,
your own schedule.
Yeah, when you're somebody like us and you have that entrepreneurial mindset, and you know that you eventually want to do it in some way, as soon as you get that taste of it, you're gonna become hooked. Like there's no way to get away from it.
Yep. You're preaching to the choir.
And I got it. And once I got it, I was like, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep working in 9-to-5. I can't be stuck in this rat race. And of course, I had read books like The Intelligent Investors, one of them, Rich Dad Poor Dad, like these books that preach all these things, but it's different reading it and going and feeling it and doing it yourself.
That's exactly. It's funny. So I, back before I started my own business, I was working Monday through Friday, full-time job.
Yep.
I still have a full-time job and do this on the side, but it's a little bit different. But the reason why I bring up my original full-time, is the first job that I got Monday through Friday, 9-to-5 or 7-to-4, whatever the schedule was, where it was, that quote unquote adult job, right? Having to come in every single day. And there was one day where, and I love listening. That's kind of the reason why I started a podcast. I love listening to conversations. I love learning through that way.
Yep.
I can't sit down and read a book. I can listen to a book. Learning through other people's conversations, is the way that I feel like I can learn the most.
Yeah.
And one of the episodes, I cannot remember. I was listening to the Joe Rogan podcast. Shout out to them. OG
great
podcaster.
Podcast. Yeah.
And he was talking to somebody, and I'm going to botch the quote, but essentially he was like, if you're sick and tired of sitting in a cubicle every single day and just not doing anything productive, what are you going to do? Like, at the time, I was sitting in a cubicle, not wanting to be there. And that's kind of like when the light bulb clicked. I was like, I need to do something different.
Yep.
Enter a camera. That's essentially.
And that's where the side hustle comes in. Correct, and that's where you start to get that taste. And that's exactly how it was for me with real estate. Being an agent started off as a side hustle. And realistically, I actually only got my license because me and my girlfriend were buying investment properties and I was tired of paying commissions. That's literally all it was.
That is surprisingly, I don't want to say that's how everybody has gotten into real estate, because I guarantee there's 1,000,001 different reasons.
Yep.
But that idea of like, well, I want to do investment properties. And then you're like, well, why would I cut a check to somebody else? Why not just reap the benefits myself? And then you go through an investment property, a buy or sell of it a couple times. I feel like you're probably gaining the knowledge that you're
how buying and selling. And that was the thing I realized. But the part of it that actually was a struggle for me was that when I became an agent full time, it wasn't just doing real estate because I love real estate, which is what I was originally doing. I got into it because I loved real estate. I loved buying properties. I liked being able to get a property and make money from it. Realistically, everything I do is really because I like making money. If you're starting a business and you don't like making money, you're going to have a lot of problems probably.
It's one of those, it is a key factor. I know a lot of people do talk like, if you
have to love what you do.
You have to love what you do. But
you also have to like making money, or else you're not going to be able to keep doing what you love.
You can't go to your mortgage lender and be like, hey, look, I love my job. It's not providing any financial stability, but I love it. And they're going to be like, you know what? You're good.
Yeah.
Like that's just the name. That's how the world works.
When I want to go have a nice dinner, or I want to supplement my caffeine addiction with Monsters every day. Yeah. I can't do that if I'm not making any money, even though I love them. I would love to drink them every day, and I would love a sponsorship if they're listening. But I can't do that unless I'm making money. So I love making money. And that was what I realized as an agent, was I sucked at the marketing aspect of it, which is a huge key if you want to make money. Yeah. And so that was where then I kind of had my first evolution in sense of working and being an entrepreneur, is that I realized that real estate might not be the exact route I want to go as far as building a business and becoming an entrepreneur. I still love real estate from the fact of investing in it, But when I would go out with clients and things like that, and we'd be looking at properties, and a lot of people would come to me because they see that I'm an investor. Like that's what people would come to me. And it was a lot of people that wanted to get into investing. And so I'm not going to sit there and be a salesperson and tell them that this property is perfect or whatever, and try and sell them on it like an agent kind of should.
Yeah.
There's of course lines to this. You don't want to cross any lines. You want to make sure that you're taking care of your client.
Absolutely.
But you also want to sell. And my problem was I just couldn't sell them. I couldn't tell them something that maybe I had to be honest with them. I was 100% honest with all of my clients, completely honest, like almost sometimes too transparent with everything.
Yeah.
Which I think is not a bad thing.
But for some people,
it can hurt you.
It could hurt you, or it could be like if you're sitting here telling a client like, oh, there's something wrong with this, or we're having an issue with it. It could potentially throw up red flags. They start kind of panicking.
Exactly.
And that's very hard.
The thing is from my perspective as well, when I was working with people that weren't going into it from investment standpoints, like they were just looking for a house to buy, people's question, their favorite question to ask me was, well, would you pay that for it? Or would you buy it for that price? And when they're looking at me and telling me that, I'm not going to lie to them and say, yeah, I would. I would just be honest with them. I'd be like, no, I would not pay that price. But that's because I'm completely different from you. Wouldn't be looking at this as a home to live in. There's different aspects that control those things. And in the market we're in, especially in this area of Northern Virginia, like in real estate right now, there's not enough houses and there's way too many people in this area. Yeah. That's it. And so you're going to have to overpay.
Hence new builds.
Yeah. And the rates are not good.
Yeah.
And, you can tell everybody, marry the price and date the rate. Like everybody says that, but it doesn't always kind of click. And that's not the financial way, people can't always financially manage that. So.
And the one thing, because I'm guilty of saying that too, with a lot of agents that I talk to, I do work with a lot of agents. Some are brand new. Some have been in the game forever, right? And that are quote unquote top dogs, right? And they all kind of have the same thing, like, yes, to an extent, right? Yeah, you can, marry the price, date the rate. It's one of those where like, yes, but if that date is an expensive date, that is a very difficult thing to do. You know what I mean? Like,
you don't want to make anybody house poor.
Correct. Yeah. And that's the biggest thing and the other part of it is, I think it'd be challenging if somebody comes to you and they want to find a house and you're like, look, I don't think this is your best option. Like, and kind of almost like pushing back. I feel like I would have and that's kind of the reason why I would never get into real estate, being an agent. Cause I've even joked like, man, I work with so many agents. I know all this information. I might as well just get my license and start, One, I don't think that would be smart because I have way too much to do already. Right. But it's one of those where I was like, I don't think I would want to have those hard conversations. Yeah. I could, right? My first job was in customer service. So I feel like I can kind of diffuse the bomb over the phone at this point, but I don't want to do that. That's why I got away from it. Right. Exactly. So it's one of those where like, I don't think I would be able to have the confidence to tell them, no, it's not a good idea.
And that's the thing is, for me, I never had a problem with the confidence of doing it. It was just the fact that when I would do that, I'm not selling anything then. Yeah. I'm, and you are still, as a real estate agent, you are a salesperson. Yeah. Like you take your real estate salesperson exam, like you're selling.
At the end of the day, you're there to provide a selling service.
Exactly.
Or, to help them buying or selling, whatever it is. But your goal there, and it's the goal with what everybody does for their job or their profession. At the end of the day, you're looking to collect a dollar.
Yeah.
Many dollars.
And when you're telling people, no, I wouldn't buy this, and your client's not buying the house, you're not making any money. Yeah.
You're making a friend, but you're not making money.
Exactly. Yeah. And so I got really good at making connections. I mean, and that's what I realized is I'm very good at connecting with people. I'm very good with that aspect. I'm good at selling myself. I was good at selling myself and getting the person to trust me with the transaction and know me, like me, trust me, all the things that people say you need to do. Yeah. But then closing out the sale, I didn't want to be that person that possibly sold them something that down the line they just regretted in any way. I didn't want to be that person. And so, and it's hard because everybody has different goals, different plans, different views on things in life. And so that was kind of where I realized with real estate that my idea was not matching up with what I had to do. And with a lot of businesses, that's the first kind of key I learned was that it's partly what you want to do. And like we said, you have to find a passion and go and do it. But the market also has to want whatever you're providing. Yeah. And if there's not a want or a need for that thing, it's not going to work. And so you have to combine the two and find a meeting of each where it's a thing that you like to do, but also something that other people want.
And it's profitable.
Exactly.
You know, because like, I mean, I find it, I'll be transparent with you. Videography is the same way. Like in a perfect world where money was not an object, I would do this stuff. Like I love it. Exactly. I love creating. I love storytelling. I love capturing visuals, right? I love everything about it. But at the end of the day, you got to make sure that it's profitable. You got to make sure that you're making money off of it, because you almost, it will provide for itself. And that's actually kind of like when I first started doing this, it was video game editing. Like I was trying to go the streaming route and just fun, and like montages and all this fun stuff. And then I quickly realized like, oh, well, it's got to start, you know, getting that ROI, right? I got to start getting a little bit back on this. And then, you know, then I realized I bought my first camera and then quickly was like, well, I got to upgrade the lens and the gear and this, and it snowballed so quick where I was like, I think I need to do this not as a hobby, but as like, you know, a profession, a business. And then once I kind of like what you're saying, got that taste, I was like, oh yeah.
Yep, that's it.
This is exactly what I want to do.
And that's what happened with me. And I realized, you know, that real estate's always going to be a part of my life. I always, like I said, I'm going to continue holding my license. I'm going to continue helping people when and where it works out. And the main thing is I'm going to keep getting properties for myself. Yeah. Me and my girlfriend are going to keep doing what we're doing. And I still enjoy working on the properties, flipping properties, analyzing deals. Like I love all of that.
Yeah.
It's just, you know, right now in the market that we're in, it's really highly competitive. And for somebody like me, when I first started, not knowing how to market, not having my own brand, like it's going to crush you. And I see so many other agents, it's crushing them too. Like people are leaving the business like crazy right now. And the only people that are staying are these people that I see that are either really high level, they're, you know, they're top dogs in their market. Like you said, like the people you're working with, those people, they're going to be there. They've built up the things. They built up their brand. They're there to stay.
Yeah.
The other people I see that are staying are the people that are willing to either outsource or they're just that good that they already have these skills. And, you know, the three skills, the three skills that I feel like you have to have is market, sales, and then fulfillment. You have to cover those three because you have to market in order to get leads. You have to sell those leads because you can get a lead, but if you can't sell them and you can't actually bring in a profit,
you got to be able to close.
You're not going to go anywhere. And then you have to fulfill whatever it is that you're offering them when you're marketing to them. You have to fulfill on that. And then you get a happy customer who then is a repeat customer and also then gives you referrals. So if you can do those three things, I feel like people can be successful by themselves. A lot of times though, on a large scale, it's hard to be good at those three things simultaneously. And so that's where I see people then that hire out and, you know, and go from that aspect. And kind of like, that's one of the things I saw when I was, of course, when I've seen your brand, I've been following you, like you said. You had "Let Us Hustle for You" as one of your kind of, you know, taglines. You actually used it as like a hashtag too.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really cool as far as like a branding perspective, for one, because it's creative, but for two, because like Gary Vee, Russell Brunson, like these people, the big entrepreneurs, like that's what they preach as far as getting started. Like you have to find a hustle, you have to become obsessed with it, and you have to go hustle for somebody else, and you have to put in the work, because even if you are running your own business, it's funny because everybody like wants to get away from the rat race and everybody wants to be their own boss. In reality, all that happens is you actually get multiple bosses.
Yeah.
You don't just go, from one boss. You have like 10 that you just report to at different times because, you know, when you're working for this client, they're your boss.
It's funny.
Or for that client, they're your boss. Doesn't matter.
The same thing. It was one of those where I was like, man, I love videography. I don't want to sit at a desk all day.
Yep.
That's the majority of what I do now is sit at a desk on a computer editing or, you know, sales calls or making sure
marketing,
just whatever it is. And I'm just like, I feel like I sit at a desk all day now, but it's different when you enjoy it, right? It's different when it's something that you are excited to do. Way different. And that kind of, that idea of branding is, you got to start with it. Right. And I mean, that's where the name came from. It's funny. So one of my close friends, he's a photographer, Artie, if you're listening, I'm talking about you. We kind of came up with the name together way back in the day, because I told him, I said, I want to start, you know, my own business. And he was like, good. And it's funny because we kind of took different paths as far as like, it's funny. So we went to Shenandoah together. That's how I met him. And then we had our I think one of our last classes of our degree or what, I don't even remember what it was, what class it was, but we worked together on a final project, and it was one of those where the class ended, we graduated, and we were just like, all right, cool. see you never, just kind of like that idea of like we're both going our separate ways.
Kind of ended, yeah.
And then like a month later, we saw each other on the walking mall with cameras in our hand, and we were just kind of like, wait, what? Hold on a second. Like
it's like the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, exactly. And then we realized that we both had something that we enjoyed.
Yeah.
And we were both kind of at the beginning stage. I would argue that he was a little bit further along. But we kind of both went different directions, but still kind of
in the
kept
same
in touch.
avenue. And,
correct. Yeah. And it was one of those where, I was talking to him, and he's somebody that I'll pick up the phone. We were just on the phone yesterday talking about stuff, and we're actually shooting some stuff together,
That's awesome.
But it's one of those where like, I told him, I was like, I want to start this, and was describing to him and like what he's like, and we came across this name, Hustle Production, or Production. Sorry. So it's one of those where it was like, that's, starting with that, figure out what it is. And you don't have to it doesn't have to be some crazy name. Some people, they want to call it Matt Wilson, whatever, or enter name here.
It can honestly be whatever, as long as you
consistent.
Yep. Keep it consistent and give it an idea that people can get behind.
Yeah.
Give it something that they can follow, that when they see those words, that logo, whatever it is, they know. It's the same thing. Nike's done it. I mean, everybody knows. You see the Nike swoosh, you know what that is.
Yeah.
That's their brand. They built it. It didn't just start out like that. And Amazon was the same way. Amazon didn't start out as it was. It was an online bookseller. Like all of these huge, big companies you see, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, like you see their logos now and it means something. They didn't start like that. They started off as just an entrepreneurial type journey. And that person, whoever started it, made a brand. And now that brand has grown. And you have to just start with something and grow it to whatever you want it to be.
And build off of it, right? It's not going to be the same exact thing that you started.
Improve it.
Like you said, Amazon. Amazon was just selling books?
Books online.
That was it.
Yeah.
Right?
And now they're probably the largest marketplace in the world.
You literally go to Amazon for everything. I just saw something. They're rolling out like Amazon Healthcare or something. Yeah. Like I'm like, they're getting
anything
into
and everything.
But they started in an area
with just books.
And then just
books, a niche, honestly. Online bookstore. It's a niche. And that's what everybody says, to niche down. And in a sense, you can. And in a sense, you're going to have to, in order to get started, you're going to have to niche down and focus, because that's the biggest thing, is you have to focus on something to get good at it.
Yeah.
And when you focus on it and get good at it, then you can grow. So you focus at it, get good at it, and then you add something else. Focus on that, get good at that. And you just keep building and stacking win on win on win. And that compounding effort after 5-10 years, it'll be incredible what all you've actually been able to then become an expert or really good at.
Yeah, it was funny. Again, shouting out another podcast, the 505 podcast. They're more in the videography, photography, social media content, that kind of. They do a lot with like sports teams, professional sports teams.
Yeah.
One of the things they said was, you are the niche. You're the niche. You don't have to be in one specific area. Yeah, it's nice if you are, because you can focus your time and effort, but focus on you developing your brand, developing what you do. If that means that you're going to kind of pivot a little bit to kind of, like you said, markets change, things change, like to kind of keep moving in that same direction. And then, like you said, you compound everything on top of it. That's the goal.
You keep
right?
growing. Yep.
And just adapting is a big one.
Yeah. And that was what I quickly realized, was that when I started building my personal brand, that's what I wanted it to be. I wanted it to be something that could evolve as I evolve, because even if you start a business, you have to wear so many different hats when you're starting it. Like there's so many different hustles that you have to go and do.
Yeah.
You have to be the marketer. You have to be the salesperson. You have to be the business strategist. You have to be the social media manager. Like all of these things, especially if you want to implement them into your business, there's only two ways to do it. Either you learn to do it yourself and do it yourself, or you pay somebody else to do it.
Yeah.
That's the only two options you have. And so for me, I wanted to be able to show that. And as I'm evolving and trying these different things, because like I said, when I got into real estate, I sucked at marketing. So I went and learned marketing. I took 6 months probably just reading books, learning from people, being around people that I know that are really good marketers, good at ads, good at things like this, learn copywriting, sales, all of it, so that I could be better at marketing because I had to in order to be good at business. It's one of the things I had to know how to do.
And it's very interesting because you're saying all the right. You're kind of right in the same. You're reading my mind at this point. And the biggest thing is, that idea of like either you do it or essentially outsource it.
Somebody else do it.
I mean, that's exactly what it comes down to. And we'll use taxes for an example, right? I'm not a tax wizard. I promise. I could probably figure it out.
Touch.
Yeah,
my taxes. Not doing it.
It's one of those where you could probably figure it out.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, I don't think it's the most challenging thing to do. I think sometimes it gets a little bit daunting because you're like, oh my God, I don't want to mess up on my taxes. I'm going to, but what do? Okay, I'm going to go find an accountant, right? Exactly. Especially if you have many different things going on, you want it done right. You're going to a professional. Why would you not want to do that same thing?
And you might even take it further and take it to a professional that specializes in what you're doing. Like I specifically look for people that know how to do real estate taxes because they're going to know the certain loopholes and the certain things you can do and things you can't do.
Things to maximize your return.
Exactly.
Make sure you're getting that's one of those where why would you not want to do that with other things? Because at the end of the day, figure out what you want to do, right? That is good.
That you're good at and that you like. And
you enjoy doing in your business.
Yep.
And then just outsource the rest of it.
Exactly.
Right? Get somebody out or bring somebody on. It doesn't have to be, completely handed off to some stranger or, there's a time and a place for both. But if it's something where you're like, look, I want to bring on a full-time team member and all they're going to do is just answer emails because you can't stand answering emails, then do it, right? But you just have to make it work in the budget, right? Obviously, you're not going to want to spread yourself too thin. But the idea is if say answering emails takes an hour of your day every day, and you hand that off to somebody, and now for that hour
back to
you can do something else that you want to do,
and or are better at.
Exactly.
If you're way better, if you can close everybody you get on the phone with, why would you spend hours sending out cold emails when you could just pay somebody and you could spend that whole hour just closing people and just bringing in more money? And that was the biggest takeaway I think I got from starting my first business, I'm going to say, which was actually being a real estate agent because I was the business at that point. Was that either you have to know how to do the things yourself or you have to hire somebody to do it. And realistically, even if you do know how to do all the things yourself, if you want to grow, you're going to have to hire other people to do it. Either way, because at some point your time becomes maxed out.
You're going to get a bottleneck. And that
exactly.
I throw that term around all the time. That's one of the things that I think people don't realize. Even I find it for myself. I mean, we were just talking about before we started recording and talking, I was like, dude, like I had a great month last month.
Yep.
And now I feel like I'm just like on full fulfillment mode this month, which is fine. That's what, because at the end of the day, I'm making sure that that doesn't trickle down to the people that I'm working with.
Yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, like I look back and like do a little self-reflection in my own business. And I'm like, man, I gotta keep talking to people. I gotta get out there.
It'd be a lot nicer if you had somebody selling for you so that you could just keep fulfilling.
Yeah. Same thing. And so it's like, there's certain things, like I said, there's certain things that I enjoy doing that even if somebody came in and said, hey, I'll do it for free, I probably still won't hand it over to them.
Because that's
that's what I got into the business for. But the things that are boring and yucky and don't want to do, I wouldn't mind handing it off, but the other part of it is you got to realize if that's a good, like if it's a good move strategically or if it's a bad move, meaning, or if it's a move that you can make, but you need to get a couple things in order beforehand. Like the biggest one I hear a lot of people talk about is bringing on a virtual assistant. I think it's a great move if it's done correctly. And the reason why I say that is because that is the exact thing that we're talking about, is that you can hand something off to them and not so much like set it and forget it, like you're not going to check in, but if they can get it 90% of the way there and then you come in and kind of, I think of it as like, baking a cake or making a cake, right? If they can put the ingredients together, mix everything, put it in the oven, make sure it's right, and then you just got to frost it at the end and it still turns out to be a great cake, like why would you not want to do that? And again, it doesn't have to be the things you enjoy. Keep the things you enjoy or the things that you're good at, because that's how the business will move faster.
Yeah.
Whereas like the stuff you don't want to do, like why not? Or the stuff you're not good at or that you find challenging. Because that's another thing that I try to encourage is like, for example, when I work with a business, and it's something that I just recently started doing. So if your previous business that I've worked with, I promise I'm not holding out on you. I just started. If you're interested, reach out to me and I'll send it to you. But what I'm doing now is I'm going to start offering like a basic intro level, like blueprint of like, hey, how to make above average content. Yeah. And that's something that I'm going to include with businesses that I work with real estate agents that I work with. I completely understand. I know the market of videography. I'm in the market of videography. I know it gets expensive. So I want to provide that information and that value to somebody that they can kind of get you to the next shoot, right? So your content in between it doesn't go from like a drastic change. That, and I'm also a little biased because I like to see high end content and help everybody. It's one of those where I'm like, if I see one more video of somebody like looking down at their phone, I'm just like, look, just hold your phone up just a little. Yeah. But that idea of providing value, because I understand, I get it. It's tough. But it's one of those where it's like, if I can give you that value, you know, and get you to start working towards, you know, your next big shoot or the next batch of content you want to do and keep you working in the right direction, then we help each other.
Yeah. And from like a business perspective, that's like the perfect way to kind of set up they call it a value ladder.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, if you can bring somebody in if it's free, lower ticket, whatever, you know, the price may be, and show them how to take their content from just the beginning stages to mid-level or even, you know, mid-high level. Like maybe they're pretty good at it. And then they start seeing a return from that. They start getting more sales. They start selling more houses, whatever it may be. Now they have a little bit extra money and they're like, okay, you helped me. And like, I saw what you were able to do just by like teaching me.
Yeah.
What can you do if I just give you the money to then go do the high ticket thing? And that's obviously where, you know, business like this, and if you're providing value to people, it does come back to you in a sense, and you can still help people without having to do the full high ticket thing. And that's kind of the same thing I realized with like editing and things like that. Like I realized like I spend a lot of time editing, and it'd be the first thing that I'm going to outsource every single time. And the people that I'm going to look to outsource it to are people that have helped me along the way and have shown me how to edit better and have showed me the things that I've
kind of
used.
Return the favor.
Yeah, exactly. Because I know that they know what they're doing, because if they were able to teach me all of this, I can only imagine what they know on top of what they taught me. And if I can see that their content, for somebody like you, like videography, if I can see that what you're doing is really good, and you already helped me, like, why wouldn't I work with you? It's a no-brainer. So, and, you know, I feel like that, you know, outsourcing and things like that, it helps a lot with then being able to do, like we said, what you love to do.
Yeah.
And being able to take back your time, because that's the most limited resource we have is time. You can make as much money as you want. I mean, people are always kind of one-upping each other on how much net worth you can have, how much money you can make, you know, billionaires, like it just keeps going. There's no ceiling to it, but there's a ceiling on time for right now. There's no, you know, medication that's came out that can give us back time or anything like that. Like we only have so much. And so you have to be as effective with it as you can.
Yeah. And that's like, it's crazy because, for example, yesterday was Monday, daughter's birthday, celebrating, took off, you know, it's it's her 2 year, she's 2 now.
Give her the best day she can.
Yeah. So, but it was one of those during her nap, my wife and I were both like, we have the opportunity to take a nap right now. And I was like, yeah, or I can do something productive. And I wasn't saying it in a negative way, because trust me,
it's that internal battle with yourself. Dude.
Yeah. When I was laying on the sofa,
sleep
after she finally fell asleep, like it's tough. She fought it hard, but she finally took a nap, and my wife took a nap as well. And I was like, please, dude, don't take advantage.
It's crazy how that shift happens. You go from a kid where you're fighting. Yeah. You don't want to take the nap, to where you're an adult. You're fighting to take a nap. You're please like, give me time to take a nap. I need it.
Yeah. And then as like, you know, before we had kids or before we had a kid, it was one of those, I was like, man, I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to go take a nap. Yeah. You might not get that window. You know, that's the funny part. But it was one of those where like I was laying on the sofa. I was like, I can take a nap right now. It'll be perfect. But I was like, no, let me just get up. Let me just start working. Like I had a couple things, small things I was checking off the list to make today be a little bit smoother of a start. And I felt accomplished when I was getting them done. Yep. Now, 8 o'clock rolled around. I kind of wanted to go back. I was like, I should have taken that nap.
Yep.
But it's one of those where, you know, that idea of like valuing your time and you know, finding that
focusing
balance
on your time and figuring out. And it's always like you always have to make the decisions and kind of weigh out your options with everything you're doing. And, you know, for something like that, it's like you could work 2 hours then and get all of that done and be productive. Or you could take a nap and you could work later and possibly be more productive. You never know. And it's always, you got to just make that decision on your own. And a lot of times what I've realized is you just have to test it and see what works best for you. Everybody's different.
Yeah.
And I can tell people what I do and what I find, and I can, you know, provide as much insight, as much information as I can. But realistically, they won't know if it's going to work for them until they go and try it.
And that's the thing is like, because I used to be one of the people that like maybe 2 to 3 hours a night sleep. That was it. Because I was like, work, take a break, hang out with the wife, you know, do the whole thing, eat dinner. Yep. And then when she was like, all right, I'm going to bed, that was like, all right, that's my opportunity to go right back down and keep on working. But then I quickly realized when I finally was like, all right, let me try the other way. Let me try the getting a good night's sleep. I feel like I was, even though I was not awake for as long, I felt like in the time that I was awake, way more productive. Getting so much more done. Higher quality. 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock, like, I feel drowsy, I want to take a nap, or sluggish. It wasn't as bad. It's always, it'll always be. I think that naturally, unless like you're eating perfect and you have the perfect diet, everything, you'll always run into that little kind of like afternoon, like, but I think that's more, from the little I know.
And there, like I said, it's all in like people and everybody's, I feel like bodies and everyone's schedules, everyone's lifestyles, everything is so much different between each person that, and that's why I share what I do, because for me, I have the same issue. I always hit like a point in the middle of the day where my energy and focus and everything, it just crashes. And, if anybody follows me on Instagram, I post my monsters every day. I drink a lot of caffeine. I try and manage it and make it to where, I'll have one monster, which is like 100 and I think 60 milligrams of caffeine, and I'll drink it from like 7 a.m. up until like 1 p.m. So I'll space out all of that, 160 milligrams over that time and just slowly drink it to keep a nice steady flow. I still have that crash. Still at some point in the afternoon around 3, 4, sometimes a little later, sometimes a little earlier, I have a crash. And what I realized, instead of taking a nap, I actually just go and work out. Because the same way a lot of people like to work out in the morning because it wakes them up, gets them ready to start their day, they're more productive. I wake up feeling fine. I just slept all day. Drink a little caffeine. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to work. Nothing's, slowing me down. When I hit that wall where I'm like, man, I feel like I need a nap, then all I do is I go to the gym. I get a good workout in. I move. I get my heart flowing. I get the blood flowing. And then when I come back from the gym, I'm alert again, wide awake. I feel great. I just went and crushed a great workout. I feel great about myself.
And there is something to say about getting a good workout in and then wanting to continue being productive after it.
And also that's something that took me a while to be able to do as well. It's not something I started off immediately doing. I had been working out for probably like 8 years before I started realizing this and intertwining those things and first tested that idea of, okay, I'm tired. I'm just going to go work out. Let's see what happens when I go do that. Like it's hard because a lot of people will struggle to be motivated to go work out in the first place. To tell people that I go work out when I'm my most tired, they probably think I'm crazy. But for me, it works. Might not work for everybody. It might work for a lot of people. That's something that other people are gonna have to try out, and I'll see, what other people say, from hearing this and stuff like that. And hopefully people can kind of share if they do try that. But for me, it works great.
Yeah. And that's one of those where it's a good tool because you're not, I'm guilty as charged. Monsters, the energy drinks. I'm trying to wean off of them, but it's one of those where, man, do they work?
Caffeine. It works.
But the idea of like, okay, instead of sitting here drinking a 5-hour energy, I'm going to go work out. It's almost like you're doing the complete opposite. Like you're almost like bettering yourself and forcing. And the other part of it is the self, discipline, right? Of saying, yeah, I'm tired, but I am going to go to the gym. I am going to work out because now it's kind of like, I can't remember who it was, but there was a speech. I'm going to completely botch what he said exactly, but he said, wake up in the morning, the first thing you do is make your bed because it's the first.
I believe that was actually like a Marine. He made the famous speech. That's
and since then, granted, I don't make the bed in the morning.
I actually have started doing that exact habit. I started probably a year ago, and I'm probably about 90. I'd say about 90%. I do it about 90% of every day. Obviously it's a toss up because I live with my significant other, and like if I wake up before her and she's still in the bed, I can't just make the bed with her laying in it. So I just
also have
go
two
on about starting my
dogs
day.
That as soon as I leave, they're like, bed's open, and they jump in. So like, but I get the
habit of getting something done
immediately
and making yourself have that feeling of gratitude,
and then stack it and build off of it.
And it's so crazy how honestly that's like one of my biggest productivity tips. Is right there is it doesn't have to be making your bed. Make it whatever it is that you honestly make it something that you enjoy doing if you really want. Like if you enjoy going outside and getting some sunlight and walking around in the beginning of the morning, that's another great thing to do. Go do it and think of it. Okay, I got exercise, I got sunlight, I walked. Like the amount of health benefits that you would get from that is amazing. And it's so simple of just taking a walk in the morning. And you can just have a checklist and just check that off. And just watch the dopamine feeling that you're going to get from checking that off. And you already have one thing done and it's, maybe, 30 minutes after you woke up.
Yeah. And then
you just keep doing it.
Compounding business and then gaining money.
Same thing in business.
Build off of those little successes. Compound those
little wins, and over time, little wins stack into a big win, and then that big win stacks into a bunch of other little wins, which then goes to another big win. And now you're looking, and a year later, you have 40, of small wins that you've built up, and 10 big wins that have all stacked on top of that. Like
you're looking back a year like, holy crap, look what I just did in
how did I do all of that? Yeah. And then people are looking at you like, man, how do you work that hard? And it's just like, I get things done. I just find something, and you just have to go. You can't be afraid of taking risks. You can't be afraid of getting things done. You just have to go do it. And even if, I maybe use a little caffeine, that is my negative thing that I do that's maybe not best for my health.
Is it the worst thing?
A little
you could
here
do?
And there.
It's not going to be.
There's a lot worse things. There's a lot worse things you could do than having a little caffeine.
Yeah, that'll definitely wake you up. It'll ruin your life.
Yeah.
But anywho, and I'm not judging anybody that does, or everyone's got their own little thing. It's not my cup of tea, but
exactly.
Anyway.
Like I said, it's whatever works for you. Yeah. If you have something that works for you, I don't.
Yeah.
Like if you wake up in the morning and do something completely different, and it works for you, and you're successful, you're happy.
Yeah.
Awesome. Keep doing it, and hopefully, you kind of take from this and maybe share it with other people, and because it might help other people.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I did want to ask you something though, because I know we mentioned it before, and just kind of really touch on it. On the kind of idea of like blueprint. Yeah. You kind of mentioned that you have something where you kind of have something similar, but it's not exactly the same.
Yeah. So like I said before, like I got into real estate, and I realized I was really bad at marketing. And when I stepped back and took all the time to learn about marketing, do all of that, like I realized how in depth you actually can go with it. And I liked it a lot. So I took a lot of time to learn it. I read probably 12 at least books that I can count in my head in the past probably 6 months. Almost all about marketing.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the things that I realized was a really weak spot for a lot of real estate agents. There's the ones that get it, and there's the ones that just pay for it. But there's a lot that don't even realize that they have to be marketing. Yeah. And honestly, in other aspects of life, that also kind of goes across to it, because relationships, and if you are somebody that's trying to get a boyfriend, girlfriend, significant other, whatever, you have to market yourself. And it's crazy, because I said I got into real estate and I suck at marketing. But then when I looked at it, I was like, I can market myself to people. I got all of these people to, know me, like me, trust me. Yeah. Like I did know what I was doing, but just not in the technical sense.
Yeah.
And I had to go and learn all of that. And so now what I kind of want to do is I'm setting up email marketing and newsletters for people that I know, and people that I kind of am working with, and things like that. And I'm also doing it for myself. And so I'm recording as I'm doing all of this, and I'm trying to create an A to Z, basically, blueprint on how someone could get a newsletter started and start with their email marketing. Obviously, they're going to have constraints. They only have so much time, and there still is time that goes into managing, operating, running all these things, and especially creating the content for your email marketing, for your newsletter. Like that takes up a lot of time.
Yeah.
And so I want to offer to help people with that as like something that I do, just because I really enjoy writing. And that's like the part of it that I like doing. I like writing, I like copywriting, and I like seeing and testing things that get sales, get results. Mm-hmm. And so I want to continue doing that, and want to be able to, of course, do it as, kind of like a business. Obviously it's going to be a business if I'm working for clients, things like that. But really, I just want to help other people do it. And so when I'm recording all these videos, I'm just going to probably put them on YouTube for free. First, I'm going to start off by sending them to a few people and seeing how much they do actually help them, and making sure that they're making sure that they're actually getting value from it. So, if anybody's interested in that, reach out to me, because I'm almost done recording a lot of it, and I'll probably be sending out the links sometime next month to kind of test that. And if they do get value from it, I'm going to take things that they're telling me and questions they ask and try and add more to it to make sure it's a full, idea. And then I'm just going to put it up for free and let people, if they wanted to start their own newsletter, because you can make I've seen $1.20 plus per subscriber on an email list, and I've seen up to $3 per subscriber on an email list when you run promotions or ads.
Yeah.
And I know agents that have 1,000 emails.
Yeah.
$2 for sending out one per subscriber for one monthly newsletter. I mean, you can do the math on that. You're making a decent amount of money on the back end there, and it's something you can do.
And that's not even including the value you're giving in the email.
Exactly.
Right?
And it's not including any sales you're going to get from the email.
Correct.
Exactly. And that's the part that I'm trying to relay to them, hey, look, you can do this, and not only can it make money on its own, but you're also just touching your clients and getting in front of them
Touch points.
Yeah.
I talk about it all the time.
You're just getting in front of them more, and that's the main thing. You need to get in front of
people. You're not the idea of you're going to talk to somebody the first time and you're going to hit it off perfectly.
And marketing is exactly that. And when you take it to social media and on a larger scale, it's the same thing as connecting with somebody one-on-one. The same thing we're doing right now.
Yeah.
This is what I try and do with my content, with any newsletter, any email marketing, anything I write. I want to relate to my audience on a personal level. I want to connect with them, but I just want to be able to do it to like 1,000 people at once, instead of, if I want to, do that, I have to come here and talk to you.
Well, that's the idea. The same thing with building your kind of catalog of content on your social media pages.
Yep.
Is
Always,
you can build this whole catalog of content, right? And it could hit 100 people, right? Yep. You have 100 followers, whatever, you're brand new, whatever the count is. Right. There's a whole algorithm to kind of put it together. But the idea is that that catalog will always be there. Unless you take down the account or delete the stuff.
Exactly.
It'll always be there. So then in a year, when somebody is, I kind of want to work with Hustle Productions. Let me go see what they're at. Well, they got a year's worth of content that they've been putting out.
2,000 posts. That is start scrolling and they can't
full of value, right? And not everything has to be full of value, but the general idea is like, okay, how can I provide value? How can I then move it to how can I help them get to where they need to go to then now want to start working with me on a larger scale, right? And that's the idea, because I get it. I'm a small business. I understand real estate agents, they're small businesses. Like I work not just in real estate, but I do stuff with other businesses around really pretty much. I'm talking to one business that they're out in New Jersey, right? It's a little bit more challenging, but it's something where I love talking about it. I eat, sleep, and breathe it, I feel like.
Yeah.
It's one of those where like I jokingly tell her, I think if I explain to her one more time about touch points or marketing or anything like that, she's probably gonna be like, look, I get it. Like, but that shows the passion, I think.
Yeah, and that is actually like the biggest light bulb that went off in my head. And the one thing that I guess shifted my mindset the most was that exact point. I realized that my content would be working for me even when I'm sleeping.
Yep.
And, I've heard that so many times from different people, and it finally resonated with me. And I was like, I need to just do it. And I started doing it probably beginning of this year is when I really started focusing on my social media marketing and building my personal brand. And I'm already seeing the result of it. I have a video now that I posted probably like 2 weeks ago, and just randomly the other night, it got like 500 extra views, like 10 likes out of nowhere. And I don't know what happened. I don't know what caused it. Something in the algorithm, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
But like people were still seeing it, and I wasn't doing anything. And I posted that. I thought I was done. Like it was got the amount of views it was going to get, whatever. And it just randomly just popped off. And that's the power of it, is that it can just continuously keep doing that. And the reason that I think it's so great is for the same reason that you just said, if your wife has to hear one more story about you talking about those things. I was doing the same thing. Like I still do it to this day. My girlfriend has to hear about it. My friends, I try and tell them about it. And what's crazy is I'm trying to tell them when it's not what they're interested in.
Yeah.
And I have this huge audience of people, like there's millions of people on social media that some of them are probably interested in it. And if they are interested in it, then if they find my content, they can listen to it and they'll actually enjoy it. Instead, I'm sitting here trying to preach to a bunch of people that don't really care. When I'm trying to tell them about the next stock to buy, they don't really care. They're not doing it.
Yeah. Is the target audience is a big factor, right? And that's why I kind of explain to people, I'm like, you don't need a viral video, right? Because first off, right, if you have a new account, or if you're new on social media,
viral videos aren't going to do that much for you.
The viral video is not going to do much because people are going to see the viral video. They're going to go to your profile.
They'll probably like it.
Yeah. And then they're going to be like, oh, it's just a viral video. And then that's it. But if you have months worth of content before then, and then something kind of pops off a little bit, then they're going to be like, okay, now I see what they're talking about, right? But the idea is like this idea of like getting so many views. I can't remember who I was talking to, but I kind of said, I was like, I would much rather have 100 views from, say 80 of those views are people that are actually interested, than 500 views of complete just random people that don't want anything to do with the content I'm putting out.
Exactly.
Because where's the value in that? Where's the ROI on your content, right? So it's not an idea of like, oh, I'm going to post this video and I'll get a client from it. No, but if you post 5 videos and then the potential client goes and sees those 5 videos, goes, oh snap, he knows what he's talking about. You don't think that's paying itself off? And it'll just rinse, repeat. You don't have to, yes, you're putting out more content, But those main videos, like that's something that will always be there.
Yep. And
for people to keep seeing over and over.
That's the social media kind of marketing strategy I've kind of developed from that. It takes exactly from that. And I want to create pieces of value. I try and do anywhere from 3 to 4 pieces of content that are just value. Yep. I just want to put, I don't care how many views they get, how many likes they get, just it adds actual value in it and does something for whoever reads it. And then I do 1 to 2 pieces per week of just things that are going to just get engagement, get eyes to my profile.
There is a whole strategy.
There's a way to get more views on your reels. There is a way to do it. I've figured it out. I realize that it is true. And I've tested it multiple times now on my own page in the past couple months of just doing it. I put out things and then I will specifically tailor a piece of content to see, okay, will this one get more views? And sure enough, it does. Yeah. I go from averaging around 1,000 to 2,000 views per reel to I get one that gets 7,000.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, there's that jump. It's over double. That's exactly what it is. And if you have a bigger audience, it's going to be the same thing, just on a bigger scale.
Yeah.
And I can
see
a
smaller scale, right? If you have a smaller
as my audience grows, I can see it still happening. You know, I went from when I first started this year, my Instagram reach, I actually took a screenshot when I first started. I had stopped posting for probably the whole month of December. Right at January, I took a screenshot and I was at 500 accounts reached in the past month. That's what I was just sitting at with I think 2 posts that month, which was what I was doing at the time. Now I'm almost at 10K and we're about to go into May. Yeah. So I'm about 5 months in and I've jumped it up that much. So it's working. I can see it and it's I can see the steady, at first it was just jumping double, double, double. And now it's just slow and we had this big jumps and
again, over time.
Yep.
And I think and I don't want to let your secret out of the bag, but I think it's one of those where you strategically plan your content, 100%. Right, to kind of hit these pillars of marketing, right? Yeah. Putting out something completely random, might get a couple likes here or there, but
that's what I used to do too. And that's the thing is when I first got started with this, it was just complete random, just throwing stuff and seeing what stuck. And I had no plan. And that's where I learned the marketing and you learn all the back end behind it. And you start seeing, these people that are actually blowing up and making these big videos, there's a structure to this. This didn't just randomly happen. They weren't just recording this video and let's see what happens and just posting it. No, there's a structure to it.
Yep.
There's a flow to everything. There's a way that makes it convert. And it's the biggest thing I learned from copywriting is that copywriting, you can take that and just write a script for a long form, short form video. And it's going to sell the same way your email does when you email it to people. And people don't realize that. But if you take those same salesy sounding type things that you're getting, and you can honestly take it from other people's stuff that they do, go sign up for a bunch of newsletters, a bunch of email campaigns, and you'll get a bunch of great things that you can just take and use for your own niche.
Repurpose.
And it's gonna work great.
Yeah. And it's one of those where I don't think people realize if somebody said, they came up with this idea, it most likely did. I'm guilty of it myself. I guarantee you can probably find
nothing's 100% original anymore.
No. And it's one of those where you might have a different spin on it. And that's what it sounds like. I feel like
exactly
the same thing with what you're talking about and it might work. And that's the thing is I don't think people realize it will work for a certain people, for certain people. Exactly. It might not work for everybody, but if you are working towards it, you're putting a good effort towards it, you're passionate in it, it will work. Yeah. Right. But again, there's that strategy you have to work off of. I fall into it as well. I know that I'm probably not the best fit for all businesses, all real estate agents. I get that. There's a market though for what I'm looking at.
People are going to
I just want to be the best at that. Yeah.
Yeah. People are going to like what you do. And if you provide value and you're good at what you do, somebody's going to like that. Yeah. I mean, that's the way it works. Yeah. If you are into it and you like it, someone else out there is going to like it too.
Yeah.
It never fails.
That's exactly. It's very interesting. And the other part of the building a catalog of content, right? Obviously you want to be posting as much as you can. Mm-hmm. Consistency is the biggest thing. Yes. It doesn't have to be everyone's like, oh, you got to have 30 reels.
And they actually just changed it. And that's one of the cool things, being in the social media and following a bunch of accounts that are even better at keeping up with the algorithm and things like that than I am. Is I get to see these things and I can just take it. And then that's also why people tell people to follow me, is because I follow these people. I go do all the research. I learn all of it. I'll put you the nice points that are actually important. I will put them on my page and you can just take it from there.
Yeah.
And they actually just changed the algorithm to where they're focusing a lot more on quality of content. So Instagram's focusing a lot because there's so many people putting up content now, and many people are doing what I used to do and just aimlessly filming things and just throwing them up there and saying, oh, let's see what happens.
Yeah.
They don't want that. They want people,
quality
they want
over
the
quantity.
audiences to get good content that they actually gain something from so that they stay on the app. That's all they want. And so you don't have to post every day. If you post 1-2 reels a week and they are good quality reels and you slowly build up that engagement and keep those rolling, algorithm will push everything perfectly fine. Your account will grow.
Yep.
Of course, you can speed it up if you can put out 5 pieces of quality content a week. Yeah, your account's going to grow a lot faster. You're helping.
But at the end
more.
Of the day, and this is kind of where I was.
It's what's sustainable.
Yeah, sustainable.
What can you do consistently?
And then also, what is going to help with you as a business? Because the biggest thing I quickly realized, because I back at, when I first started, I was like, I'm going to vlog every day. I'm putting out a daily video. This is what I'm doing. And then after like a week, I was like, holy smokes, I cannot keep up with this.
Can't do that and also run a business and make money.
Correct. And it was one of those where the other part of it is work-life balance, right?
Yeah.
So like, I felt like I was always editing and filming and, I love videography, but it's one of those where every time and I'm not saying it in a negative way, but like, my wife is not somebody that wants her life out there. Like, I'm cool. Like me, I'll randomly like, hey, this is what I'm doing. But she might not like that. She might not want to do that. So finding that middle ground, right? That work-life balance of like, all right, when am I going to put the camera away? And when am I going to just enjoy? And it's the same thing. So like Saturday we had a birthday party. Daughter's birthday was yesterday, but easier to throw the party on the weekend. And at first it was one of those where I was like, yeah, I'm going to make a great video. We're going to capture everything, this and that. And then like the party started and halfway through I was like, oh no, my camera. And I was like, you know what? I'm good. I'm just going to enjoy this. And having that work-life balance of like, I don't need to bust out the camera. And yeah, am I going to say like that video is going to be work? No, but that idea of like, I'm not worrying about like, oh, this shot, that angle, whatever it is. I'm just in the moment enjoying it. And like, it was a great time, so like having that balance. And that's the good thing about like not having to post every day. Right. Yeah. Now there's strategy behind batch filming and that's kind of where I can.
It's where you start to optimize things and make it work as efficiently as possible. Because like I said, the one thing you're limited on is time. Yeah. And so if you can, for one, buy back as much time as possible, that's going to save you a lot. And then with the time you are using, use it the best way possible. And that's the only way you're going to have the most time possible. And that's, I think everybody, at least everybody I know, would say that they would never complain about having more time in life. I feel like no matter what point you are in life, like if somebody asks you like, hey, if you could extend your life and happily continue enjoying it, no one's ever going to say no. As long as you're healthy, able to do everything. No, I would never say no to that.
And it's one of those where you can also, spend quality time with your family. And that kind of goes back to what you first started talking about is like having that idea of like you're building, your health, wealth, and relationships.
Yeah. For me, getting back that time and working smarter, not harder, like we said, I found that we're in a great spot in 2024. There's a lot of new technology, and everybody, of course, knows about AI, ChatGPT, all of that. It's coming out, and it can change a lot. The thing is that how I noticed people using it and how I was using it originally isn't going to change everything as drastically as people were thinking. It's definitely a lot more in depth than that. And that's one of the things that I also try and put out there is like using AI as a tool. And, I use it for a various amount of things that I do. I use a lot of different tools. There's a lot of great ones out there, but it's just a tool. It's just an aid. It's something that's going to help me not do the whole job for me. And that's how I see people trying to use it, is doing the whole job for you. And I read so many agents with listing descriptions that, sometimes it'll even say prompt and then it'll put underneath it. And I'm like, okay, you have to at least backspace out the prompt.
Or at least read over it before.
And I think it's always using the same AI type words and things like that. And it's like, part of that is you have to go in and give it the human touch. It's never going to convert as well unless it sounds like something that came from a human, because AI, even if you try, and no matter how long I've made the prompts, they still can't get that feel, that invoke that emotion and things like that that you can get from a human aspect of speaking to someone.
Well, there's a certain way that humans speak. Yep. I think it's very difficult to kind of teach. Mm-hmm. So it's definitely one of those where, I use AI. Like I use, different forms of it I was just converting pictures from vertical to horizontal. Yeah. Generative AI in Photoshop. It's amazing. Right. But I'm not going to sit here and take all the pictures vertically and then use it as a crutch to like, there's a time and a place for it, right? I think it's just like, I describe it as like the internet. When the internet first came out or online sales first came out, a lot of businesses were like, no, I'm sticking to I'm not doing that. I'm like, okay. And, you know, at the time, I was very young when it came out. But looking back, it's one of those where you have to adapt in the business. AI will take your job if you don't come up with a way to utilize AI to make your job better. I don't think it'll
take a job completely. It's just you're going to be behind your competition. That's all it's really going to boil down to, is that they're going to start doing it. And that's the same thing that no matter what you're looking at, if you're not at the spot you want to be in your business and you're probably looking at someone or looking up to someone, or you just want to reach a certain level, it's probably not anything you're doing. It's what you're not doing. And it's what your competitors are doing that you're not doing that is making them that difference. And AI is going to be one of those things that if a business that you're competing against or in the same space as is using AI and using it in the proper ways, they're going to be their output's going to be so much higher than yours, because it gives you so much more leverage. There's so many advantages to it, and it is a tool that can help you. And if you use a tool to help you, it's only going to further propel you. I mean, it's the same as if you're trying to build a house with your bare hands or if somebody gave you a hammer. It's going to work a lot quicker if you have the right tools. And that can go even further than if you have a nice saw, if you have a nice drill. It's going to be a lot easier than if you're sitting there actually with just your hands trying to build.
It's the same thing. It's technology evolves, we evolve. That's just how the world works. Like, that's just the path. Like we will forever be working forward. That is what has gotten us to where we are. That's what is going to get us to where we're going. My thing is, like, as a business, if you're not taking advantage of it, right? I get it. There's a lot of, it kind of goes back. So I took a class in college where we talked about, like, you know, moral dilemmas, right? So like steroids in sports, should you do it? Should you not? I feel like, you know, and this might be an absurd comparison, I feel like AI is like the steroids of a business.
In a sense, it can be. I mean, you can definitely compare it to that.
Yeah. And it's one of those where it'll kind of like, it will force the hand of people that don't want to use it, but they can't keep up because everyone's using it.
It's like baseball. Everybody, I mean, especially way back when, it was a common thing. Everyone was doing it.
So you either had to overwork yourself to the point where you're pushing injury or jump on board.
Even still then, I mean, with something like steroids, and I think even something like AI, you can't outwork it. No. It's just that good. I mean, steroids are a crazy compound. Everybody knows that. And for baseball, there was no way for people to catch up. You can't naturally catch up to somebody that was using it. No. Same with AI. Somebody who is using AI the proper way, there's no way you can match that productivity, that output. I mean, I was able, for just this podcast, I was able to do research, study, and like understand topics and things I wanted to cover with the use of AI in like 2 hours. I had a pretty good understanding of that on something that would have probably taken me 4 to 5 hours at least prior to, because I would have had to just go through and listen to a bunch of videos. But now with AI, I can just pull up a page, tell it to give me the transcript, and then give me a key point summary and give me all the things I need to know to recreate something like that.
I have I have the new Samsung, I can't remember, the S4 Ultra, whatever it's called now. They keep changing the name. I sound like I'm 50 years old. I can't keep up with it. But one of the selling points was that it's AI, you know, they implemented AI into it. So now I can sit here and record a phone conversation, right, with the consent of the person on the phone.
In Virginia, it's only a one-party consent, so you can actually record without having to tell somebody. In Virginia, it's not every state, just so everybody knows, but it is better to get consent.
No, but I'm always open. I always say, hey, look, and most a lot of the times I tell them, like, look, I'm not going to remember everything we talk about because I like to talk. So it's one of those where I'll record it. But what my phone will do is it'll transcribe the conversation. It can even navigate voice A, voice B, whoever's talking, right? And then I'll say, okay, perfect, give me a summary. And then it'll give me a summary of everything we talked about, right? And if you haven't gone too far off on a tangent, if I haven't gone too far off on a tangent, I'll then take that summary and send it to him and be like, hey, just a refresher of what we talked about, and it just makes it easier for everybody.
What's crazy is you can take it steps further too. Like you can go even more in depth. You can tell it to highlight key points, and half the time, like it'll be able to go through and do things like that. Things that like you have to scan through the whole document to make sure you're getting each of the key points. It goes through and does it almost flawlessly.
Right. Or if you're talking about like putting a quote unquote game plan together. Right. So now you have action steps that you want to go off of. It'll pull those action steps and give you a to-do list.
And what I think is the most amazing piece of it is something that if I was trying to create an actionable to-do list, depending on what topic I'm talking on or what I'm building the to-do list for, I may have to go do research on how to structure the to-do list.
Yeah.
With AI, I can tell it, hey, I'm trying to do this in this market with this audience and get really specific with it.
Yeah.
And it can go do the research for me because it has access to the internet. Yeah. And it would do the same thing I'm going to do. All I'm going to do is go on Google, YouTube, what everybody does, and just search and just research and just read. You can tell it to do that for you, and it'll do it in a split second instead of me having to type in the web page or type in my Google search and then go read. It does all of it in an instant. And then you can go and you can back check it. You can still, do your own work. And that's the part of it that then I think takes it a step further is when you take it from using it as a tool and not just taking what it then gives you and running with it.
Yeah. And I think the crazy part is everything we just talked about is only a portion sliver
and every single day I learn something new. I mean, the thing we had been talking about, there's something we know that's kind of taking place in the background, something that's being worked on within AI that it's going to change things. Like it's going to make things for a lot of people, it's going to be a game changer.
Without saying too much, I feel like we're kind of both on that same topic. It's one of those where talking with this person, it's going to shake the game. And it's one of those, and I see it in a positive, in a good way. Not something that's going to be, but I think it's going to kind of turn the page a little bit more and give opportunity to specific groups that will really kind of help them. And I think we're in the same boat.
I think the biggest thing is that it alleviates a big pain point that a lot of people have. And for actually both things that we kind of do with the videography and with me writing content and things like that, it makes it almost easier for people to do it. Like a lot easier. And that's the sense where like, if you don't adapt to it and learn how to utilize it, it won't take away your job, but it's going to take away a lot of your money that you're making
or make it very difficult to keep doing the things
because if we weren't, in that space and knew about this thing and it came in, that there's a chance that like a lot of people are going to be in a way affected by this because it's going to make people's jobs not needed. It's going to make a lot of, a couple of things not needed. It won't take away completely.
But it'll kind of restructure.
Exactly. It's going to bring in a new era and it's going to evolve.
So
everything.
Hopefully we didn't talk too much, but it's one of those where I'm chomping at the bit for
I'm excited. I'm excited to see what it can do because I mean, every time I feel like I get a new piece of AI, the one big thing I learned, I don't know if you know of HARPA AI. So when I found out about that and was able to create custom prompts and saw the things that they were building there, like that was crazy. And like the amount of change that one piece of technology gave me. And it's really not even anything that cool. It's just like a better version of ChatGPT. The thing we're talking about is even more. I feel like
it
does a lot more. And so I'm just really kind of excited to see what that can change for me, for one, obviously. And then for anybody else that wants to hop on and try it, obviously, then I want to see what it does for their businesses.
And I think it's one of those where, and that's like kind of how what we started is we've touched base a while back and have always been, on social media together, but this kind of, opened the door for us to kind of have a more of a conversation. So I'm excited to see what that involves as far as kind of putting that quote unquote team together. I'm
excited for that. And I mean, honestly, it's really cool. Like I've been reaching out to a lot of people on like social media and stuff. It's mostly kind of cold or warm outreach, you would call it. And really, I'm just trying to like build connections and talk with more people because that's the one thing I like to do is connecting with people. And the one thing I realized with social media that I really like about it is I can do that without having to go and physically meet with the people. Like when I was in real estate, I was just physically going and meeting with people at coffee shops and just talking with people, which is awesome. I really enjoy that, but I can do it a lot faster on a way bigger scale on social media. And so that's like, I always am telling people like, I like what they're doing. Like I like watching other people build something for themselves. Like especially people that I know and like if I've seen them go from like their beginning stages to like building something that's really cool and really incredible, or like even something that they're just really happy about,
I'm all for it.
That's so, I think that's awesome. Like, cause I know how it makes me feel. Like I know how I feel when I'm, you know, building something. I know how the struggle, the grind is, like all of that. And so just to, like see that. And so I'm really excited to like obviously see that product, but like I'm excited to see everything that you continue to do and what you're able to even do with that when it comes out.
Yeah.
Excited to see what I'm able to do with it. And then that's also why I try and help other people and always tell people like, hey, like, you know, I'm willing to like help people out for free sometimes, just because I'm like, if you're building something that like I really like and enjoy,
I enjoy it. Like that's the value is there.
I'll help you out. Yeah.
And
like
that's what I mean, that's what I got into videography for.
Exactly.
Is like, what can I create that looks good?
Yeah.
No, and the other part of it is I'm excited to kind of, you know, we've in the past talked about potentially, you know, doing stuff, working together, doing whatever. And obviously that's still on the table.
Yeah.
But I think what we're kind of hinting at is there's things that could kind of bring that together. So it's very
really
exciting.
Just intertwine a lot. And
could be very exciting to see, you know, just that and being creative is the biggest part. So yeah, I think it's exciting. It's one of those where I'm eager to see where it goes. But yeah, I think 2024 is going to be very interesting.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, like we said, you have to evolve. You have to learn to work with the new things that are coming. And you never know, like there's always waves of things. There's things like NFTs, all of that, crypto, like it all has its hype. It has its, and it's hard sometimes to kind of weed out what's actually going to change and evolve things.
Yeah.
AI is one of those things that I think as soon as it came around, no one was questioning whether or not it was going to continue advancing or if it was going to slow down. Like if you look now from where we went from just like, I mean, with just AI to the simple Boston Dynamics robots that they had to what they've evolved to now. I just saw the other day you could actually buy a robot dog with a flamethrower attached to it for less than 10 grand.
Link in the description.
That's where we're at now. And you have Elon Musk who just successfully implanted Neuralink into somebody where the person has a chip in their head now and they can control a mouse just by thought.
Yeah.
Like that's insane. And if you think for some reason AI somehow is not going to go anywhere and they're not going to keep evolving that, like,
you don't think
you have to catch up.
That's just the beginning. It's like the iPhone 1, right?
Yep, exactly. And now you said they even put AI in your phone. If anybody's seen the new Instagram update, you have Meta AI added on there now. Like you can see it. And if the big businesses like Google, Meta, if they're buying into it, there's a reason. They put a lot of money into their research, a lot of money into what they're doing, and there's a reason they make a lot of money because they know what they're doing.
That's the biggest thing. When you see these larger companies, you'll start seeing the smaller ones, and it's
the same thing as one of my favorite real estate strategies I've ever seen was this guy who realized early on that Chick-fil-A puts a lot of research into where they allow people to open up their stores at. And he realized this. I think they realized it with Chick-fil-A, and another one I've seen was Starbucks. Both companies, obviously really big, successful companies, they do a lot of research on where they put their businesses.
You have to be within a certain distance from interstate?
Yep, and you have to have a certain amount of capital, certain amount of or people per capita, and a certain amount of growth in the areas. And what a lot of the Chick-fil-A's and Starbucks were looking for were high growth areas. And this person realized it. So every time he would see somewhere where Chick-fil-A was opening a new location, he would buy a house in the same location. His real estate portfolio exploded because he just realized they're doing all this research. Why am I going to sit here and research where I want to buy a house? If they're taking all the time to do all this, I'm just going to copy it.
It's right there.
So if they're putting AI into Instagram and making it like now every time I type out my search bar, it's just ask Meta AI something. And if I type out something too long in my Instagram search bar, it just asks their AI.
Yeah.
If they're doing that, it's probably for a reason. Yeah. They're probably seeing
it's not
something.
Going anywhere.
Exactly.
Definitely not going anywhere.
And so if they're implementing it in their business, why would you not implement it in yours?
Yeah. No, it's crazy to think about. But it's definitely something that's realistically where we're going. That's where business is going. You can use it for personalized stuff as well. Yeah.
I use it for everything.
I use it for it's a cheap way of autocorrect at this point because just typing and it's to the point now where it'll automatically to boil it down to very basic, AI is definitely the auto generated text of it'll finish your sentence for you.
Yeah. finishes
it
perfect
learns
grammar, perfect spelling.
Yep,
like I can
like
just type super
something.
fast, and I don't have to worry about how good I'm typing or anything. Like I can almost misspell a word completely, and as long as the word before it and the word after it make that word make sense, it'll correct it.
Yeah,
even if completely off.
That's where I feel like that was stage one. Now we're down the road. But no, I think we talked about a lot.
Yeah.
I really appreciate you coming out. I think this is, definitely one where we talked about a lot of good information. Yeah. Like I said, all your stuff's going to be linked.
Cool.
Tag in everything. We're going to,
I'll probably repost a bunch of it. And yeah.
Well, that's the cool thing with like, Instagram is you have the collaborative posts and all this fun stuff. So yeah, we'll definitely, make sure we're connected. But yeah, your stuff will be down there. Please guys, go check out his, I say firsthand that you provide a lot of value and a lot of content.
Trying.
That's the name of the game.
Yeah.
So check it out. I think
keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully people can keep taking from it. And even if it's, from however many people watch this, if one person gets something from it that helps them in any way, it doesn't have to be life changing. It doesn't have to make them, $1 million or do whatever. If it just
baby steps
made them had a better day. Yeah. They feel like they learned something today, and that today was better than yesterday because they learned something new today.
What better?
That's all I can ask for.
What's better?
So yeah, thank you for having me on, and I'm happy to do it again anytime.
Yeah, no, I think it's very interesting. Especially as things kind of develop, it's one of those where I'm like, all right, part 2, or let's run it back, or definitely,
might have to switch it up. I'm actually starting my own podcast. Another shameless plug here. It's going to be on my YouTube. I just have a video I want to put on my YouTube that I've been thinking about for probably about 2 months now. Yeah, it's going to be who is Kyle Tusing. I want to lay out like who I am, kind of what my brand is and everything, and I want that to be the staple video that everyone sees when they come to my page. Yeah. As soon as I finish that one, because it's a lot to answer that question like that. If you really sit back and ask yourself, who are you in like a deep sense, like not easy to do. Yeah.
You answer it, but then you're like, who am I? Like you almost like start self-reflecting off of it.
Yeah. Once I get that, then my YouTube's going to start picking up a lot more because I have a bunch of videos that I've already made that I just don't want to post until I get that one on. And I actually have a podcast that I'm starting, and I'm interviewing business owners. I want to do anybody who owns any type of business, which I'm saying includes entrepreneurs in any sense, like real estate agents, home inspectors, mortgage lenders, people like that people don't think about as a business, but they really are. Yeah. And that would include somebody like yourself where you have a videography business. And I'd love to have you on there once I get it rolling, and kind of
I'm an open book.
We'll flip-flop roles, and I can ask you some questions, and we can learn about your success stories and how you've gotten where you are now.
No, I'm all for it. Hey, I love talking and conversations and talking about myself. No, I'm just kidding.
Everybody likes it a little bit.
Yeah, just a little. So, all right, guys, we're out of here. Just stay tuned for the next episode.